All right, so injury report with Matt and Ed both. We'll just see where things take us this week. And they're both improving. I don't have anything more at this time to give you. I'll know a little bit more next week. Injury report-wise from the game itself, don't have much of a report at this time at least. I know KJ went out there. Jenks went out in the game a little bit with a leg, but I don't have any clarity really on that at this point. So time's yours.
With Matt, since you didn't put him on IR, is it safe to assume that it's not a long-term injury?
Feel like that? Yeah, feel like it. You know, what I was told after the week after the injury last week, Joe, was like the first couple of days they would know more. So I think they feel the same, that it wasn't any worse, right? So sometimes after an injury, they have to wait a couple of days to see how the initial situation really sets in, and I think to this point, it's been a positive for Matt that he's already continued to improve at this point. So.
How do you balance reacting to your defense giving up so many third down chances and yet holding them to under 300 yards?
Yeah.
Doing some of the good things that they did do, but the third down opportunity certainly didn't.
Yeah, I thought that was one of the. I think each week of this season, each week of the season, our defense has gotten better. That's a very strong offensive opponent that we faced last night. To your point, the first and second down defense was, I thought, the best we've played them for the most part, I would say, over the last, however many games. They're a tough unit to stop. The third downs, however, in the red zone, we just went through third down as a defensive staff, and just not enough of things working together. So, that'll be a point of emphasis as we move forward, for sure. And then to come out of it with multiple 3-and-outs, I think I believe could have been an even bigger factor for us than it was. We had a chance to, at times, build a 2-score lead. We didn't pull away the way I had hoped we would. Again, work to be done there. But coming up with that big play at the end of the game was certainly huge for us. So the defense, I feel like, is moving in the right direction. Certainly getting healthy will help some of that, getting healthier. We'll see where that goes. But, again, it's just continue to try and take steps every week. Every week's a challenge, but continue to try and grow and bring some of these young players along at the same time.
Sean, I think for people outside watching, the third and long conversions in particular, however you define that, 3rd and 6 and beyond, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 10, can be really frustrating, right? And I'm sure it's the same
for me
way.
too.
Yeah. Even going back to last season, it seems like in those situations, which on the surface are advantageous for the defense, there have been just too many conversions. Is that? I'm sure if you had the answer, it would change, or if you did have the answer, you probably wouldn't want to necessarily share it. But philosophically, do you think there's something that maybe needs to change there to just do a little bit better in those situations that seem to be in favor of the defense?
Well, you're right. Number one, 3rd and 7, let's just call it round up, 3rd and 7 plus. Those are situations as a defense. You want to be a good defense, you shut them down right there. And the drive goes no further. Last night we had an opportunity in a blitz, free runner, they make a play, right? So we can learn from that. We can learn from when we didn't blitz and the rush and coverage piece working better together. There's a lot we can take from that set of plays last night. Like I said, we were very intentional about this morning and just watching those in order. So it's the week before it was really good. This week, not good enough. So it's an important piece of being a good defense, though, and playing complementary football with the offense. I mean, the one before half with the blitz that we had, 2 minutes or so, maybe a little bit above 2 minutes remaining in the half, we get the ball back to Josh and crew, and then we get the ball after half. So those are the small things or small opportunities that you got to take advantage of if you want to be really good.
Coach, what impressed you about Deion Walker last night?
Yeah, that play, he didn't get off to a great start in the game, but I love how he was able to stay mentally tough and stay on the attack, and then when needed most, made a huge play. Being able to affect the quarterback, we always talk about, rushing coverage, and here Deion's, he has a quick win, which you need, and TB has the coverage piece, and those two did a phenomenal job. That's the vision of rushing coverage working together. Great call by Bobby there, and well coached by our defensive staff, and I know Al's gotten credit about that, and he should. And to me, it's a great testament to what goes on upstairs and the hours that the coaches put in and the development of the players.
When you watch a game back, how do you see just generally young players growing throughout a game itself?
Well, it's like, I'm sure they would say the same. It's 2 steps forward, 1 step back, and it's like, hey, when is this going to end, coach? Right? No, it's part of the rookie season. It's how it goes, and maybe even the first couple of years. So, you feel for these young players because it's like you're moving the target constantly, coach, and now you're just part of your growth, right? So, but I applaud them, Deion in this case, TJ, and the other guys that are out there for really being committed to the process and being resilient. I mean, our whole team was very resilient last night in a close game, and those young guys are along for that ride as well.
I asked this, somewhat half jokingly. Is James Cook underpaid?
You can ask the guy. His name begins with a B, and his first name begins with a B, and his last name begins with a B. You can ask him upstairs. But no, from a coach's lens, I understand why we extended James, and I think he's one of the better running backs in the NFL. And I'm always happy when players get rewarded for their hard work and their production. I want that for all of them, quite honestly.
When it comes to the value of what he's done in these first 3 games, I mean, has he raised his level in some ways?
I believe so. And that's been James's kind of growth cycle, right? He loves football. He doesn't like, at least in my mind, he doesn't really get into all this other stuff that is outside of football or wants to sometimes try and populate the world of football. He's about ball, and he loves to play football. And I love seeing him out there last night as one of our captains, and it's just fun to watch players develop and guys that love ball. So.
Coach, knowing how much you value the play of the line of scrimmage, what did you observe from Miami with their penetration, particularly on first down? I know they were sending some extra people at times, but what was your overall observation there? Because there seemed to be a fair amount of penetration, more than we're used to seeing here in the offensive front.
Yeah, so they were doing some blitzing or running some what we call simulated pressures, where they bring a disguised fifth, and he actually becomes a 4-man rush, but he becomes the 4th rusher, the blitzer does, and then playing coverage behind it. So we've seen some of that before. They were doing a good job, but I thought our protection was pretty good overall. I thought they didn't have a lot of free runners necessarily, but maybe just pushing the pocket a little bit more, and so some of it I think it affected. But overall, I thought there was just opportunities there that maybe we didn't take advantage of, and we go back like we did this morning. I know Joe was with the offensive staff. Joe and I met and just talked about, hey, things we could have done differently, done better, and on the whole, we still scored 31 points, so you're happy with that. But there's always opportunities to grow again and improve.
How do you feel Dalton Kincaid took the things you asked of him in the offseason and starting to put that together now on the field?
Yeah, I thought Dalton had a really good night. He had that one ball that came up. I think it was in the first quarter. But outside of that, he was really good at the point of attack, blocking on the perimeter screen game, and freed up. He got freed up one time, and then he freed up Khalil another time for the touchdown in the fourth quarter there. And then he had good production in the passing game. So I thought he played a really good, solid game, and he's committed to improving. He's got a great personality. I love being around him on a day in and day out basis, and he really wants to be good at what he does, and he's made a commitment to do that.
Are you giving enough? I mean, it's hard to talk about sacks with pass rushers, but in terms of the entire picture, are you getting enough from Greg Rousseau?
I think Greg has had some good reps, and then there's some other things that he would tell you that he wants to do better in the first 3 games. So going forward, we are going to need that 100%. I think Joey's off to a really good start, and creating some disruption back there, and we need to find or continue to find players that are going to help us and add to that mix.
I know you don't want to get too much into the details of what you want him to do better, but is there any specific thing, whether it be in the run game or as a pass rusher, that you just need to see more of?
Well, overall, I mean, again, you're looking to improve in every area, right? Whether it's an individual player, I know Greg's committed to that. He's one of our hardest workers and very conscientious young man, and a big part of our team. But overall, as a team, we're looking to do the same. So I bet you if Greg came in here and you asked him the same question, he's going to say, I'm working on every area, every aspect of my game. So, but the pass rush is, you guys know, I've talked about it over and over and over again. The pass rush is needed. I'm just talking generally speaking, and my philosophy is you got to be able to get there with your front 4. And then the coverage has to work in tandem with them. So that's going to be a key piece for our team, not just our defense, but our team moving forward.
Along those lines, Sean, these first 3 weeks have probably not been super easy for Landon. We don't get to see practice now, so how is he coming along? Do you feel like he's getting closer to getting a jersey on game day?
We'll see. He's working hard. Again, another conscientious young man that the game is important to. Landon was close to getting a jersey this week, and we'll see where it goes moving forward. The goal is to get as many of these young guys up and active, getting a jersey, Jay, to get them some valuable time. We're already seeing that with most of them. And so like I said, there's some growing pains in there, but the vision that I have, that we have, then is going to be, hey, but down the road, it's going to pay off for us in the back half of the season. So it's how do we we were talking about some Landon this morning and some other young players, is how do we get them active? Are they ready? Are they too far off at this point? So those conversations are happening.
You're on a 25-game streak of not losing the turnover margin, and obviously we talk about the takeaways and that kind of thing, but from the offensive side, not turning the ball over, what have you seen in that respect, and how much of the emphasis that's been?
Yeah, you get what you emphasize most of the time. A wise coach once told me that, and if you don't emphasize it, don't expect to get it. And Joe and Bobby and Taves do a really good job of carrying the message to their respective units, and then working on those things at practice. So the last week, it's been a little bit challenging, I guess, because we really haven't had true practice days to do it, but we still talk about it. We still try and pull off some level of drill work on it. So you never take it for granted. It is one of the more convincing stats that leads to winning football games.
Is that something also, like we talked a lot about Josh last year and like reducing his interceptions and that kind of thing, like from his perspective, I guess, is he continuing to take steps forward and making decisions that don't put the ball in harm's way?
Yeah, incredibly so. I couldn't be more proud, happy of the way he's really learned the game and become a really good decision maker. He understands the game that takes place within the game, and not everybody can get themselves to that level. And I think Josh Allen continues to show why he is who he is. And in my 25 years or more in this league, very rarely do you get a chance to witness what we in Buffalo have had a chance to witness, and it's pretty special.
When you're evaluating the defense and kind of the identity of the group, what's it like knowing that it's going to be so different in a few weeks when you're getting guys back from injury, back from suspension, just knowing, like, you mentioned the group's improving, but it's going to look very different in a little bit. What's it like kind of long-term evaluating that?
It's a little bit hard, I guess. I have a vision. We have a vision for it. And again, the vision is, it's exciting, yet at the same time, there's going to be growth moments, right? Good and bad, where you have to endure it to get yourself where you want to be. And I'm excited about that. And I kind of, development of players, development of getting young players integrated and trying to get our team elevated, right, with their help is exciting. And so you just have to, there's a delicate balance to that, though, too, of making sure that they're ready enough to play but not hurt the team to where it would cost us, a game, essentially. So it's that balance of the position coach knowing exactly, hey, they're good enough to put out there. There's going to be some growing pains, yes, but it should not cost us, a game, perhaps. And so it's that's the delicate balance of trying to get more and more of these guys out there. But that is the vision, is to get them out there so that back half of the season we're rounding into form and potentially, hopefully, getting a little bit healthier as well.
Hey, Sean, 2 games in, what has been your takeaway from your new punter, Cameron Johnston?
Limited punts. He had I think he had 1 or 2 last week. He had 2 last week.
3, I think.
Last week?
Yes.
3 last week. This past week, you mean?
3 versus the Jets, 2 versus the Dolphins.
Yeah, so 5 total. Yeah, limited sample. I think some good and some that he would want back as well. So we're working on it. And you're always looking to, again, improve, and special teams is a big piece of it. You do have what happens with some of the injuries that are mostly mentioned on defense. There is a trickle-down effect to teams play. I thought some of the play last night was really good. Guys stepping in that have not typically been in those positions, and then some that we have to make sure that we shore up moving forward there as well. So, but Cam, obviously with the one play last night, it turned out being a real pivotal moment in the game. We can all learn from that play for sure. All right, thanks, guys. You too.
Enjoy the weekend.
Yeah. Pop quiz. PJ, how much of that third down stuff were we doing? Okay, I'm gonna leave takeaways with it, if that's fine. Okay, cool. Is there anything else you want left out? Or anything you do want left out? Okay.
But you don't care.
Sure.
Let's get it all.
Do you want to split it or do you just want?
I'll do Sean's already, so the others can focus on it.
Okay, I can help with
Yeah.
something, so.
Sounds good, thank you.
Yep. No problem.
one that where he was rough was good.
Yeah, doesn't count.
He went to the 2.
Does not count for his stats.
That was a good one though.
Right. The rest of them,
What a weird problem to have. We have no one that should have same one. That looks like a yummy one, Joe. What flavor is it? Berry?
Mixed berry, I think.
Oh, that looks nice. I was preparing for you.
Good afternoon, y'all.
How are you?
Good, how we doing?
It all feels like the morning.
It's all the same, I had to look at the time. All right, all good, ready to rock.
Hey, Joe, with Dalton in particular, you know, it seems like last night, look at the opener and the touchdown against Baltimore, those are the exact type of plays that this offense has been kind of needing out of him, and to see him provide them pretty consistently here through the first 3 weeks, how big is that for him and for you guys?
Look, it's huge, right? You know, we talked about the type of offseason that he had, you know, that he was here and just doing everything he had to do to get ready to go, and he had a strong training camp, and look, when he's out there making plays, you know, he's a football player, and good things happen, and you know, 2 of the 3 games for him to start with a touchdown, and you know, that's huge for us. But he's a huge spark for our offense, and when he's out there, a lot of good things tend to happen. I would love for him to get in the one that got to the 1-yard line a little later, but look, I'm excited that he's playing confident. He knows he's feeling healthy again, and you can see it for sure.
James Cook has over 200 yards after contact the last 2 weeks. How have you seen him progress in that area of the game the last couple of years?
Yeah, I think you have to love how he's running the football right now. You know, he had a couple yesterday that I'm sure he'd like back. You know, a couple shoestrings that, you know, you hope that if you can get the ball on a defensive back, right, you hope it's can be a big football play. But I think I talk all about. I know it's not necessarily anything that's out of the ordinary, but understanding the way defenses are playing for a running back position and understanding who's the guy that I'm going to have to make miss. And then when I get to that level, based off the combinations running through, whether it's that safety or that linebacker that's going to be fighting over a combination block, he's playing so much stronger in the last couple of years, and he's able to do that. And then you can feel the explosiveness once he gets through the hole and the vision and going. And but I think he's in a really good spot, and I know sometimes that's tough when a guy gets. It's human nature sometimes when a guy, you know, you get a contract and, you know, maybe you kind of get a little comfortable, and that's not in his DNA. And if anything, I think he's taken a step up in his game, and it's pretty fun to see.
If you look at Josh's intended air yards yesterday, falling under 4 yards per pass attempt,
Mm-hmm.
I think the last time, or the only time the last 3 years that's happened is against Miami last year. Is there something about what they do defensively that makes it tough to maybe push it downfield? Do you like some of the things that you're getting in the short game, and you kind of lean into that a little bit more?
Yeah, I think it's probably a combination. I think it's. I thought Josh did an incredible job last night at taking what they gave us. Right, there's a lot of, you know, they do a unique job of a bunch of versions of split safety and, you know, showing and then dropping out, getting a lot of depth. Right, trying to put an umbrella to the defense, and that's not to say that you know, there's not plays out there that are to be had in those situations, but he did a really good job being efficient with it, especially on a short week. Right, there's not a lot of. You can only get so game plan specific, you know, on those days, right? You got to give your guys what they know, you know, without ever getting a practice and a walkthrough in those situations. But look, I think if teams want to play split safety and give us the opportunity to be able to run the ball, and Josh shows that he can be efficient and take what's underneath throws, at some point they're going to have to switch that up, and then, you know, and then it opens up the deep throws. And as long as we don't get greedy and feel like we got to make plays, I think you want to be an explosive offense, so you got to be able to push the ball on the field. I think that's a given, but I think Josh is doing an elite job right now of, if it's not there, checking it down, finding the open, getting our guys rack, and be able to convert first downs. And you know, look, I would have loved for some of those balls to go further yesterday, but I thought he did a great job of playing efficient and doing what we needed to do to win that football game.
How has Josh grown over the last couple seasons of really being okay with taking what the defense is giving you?
Yeah, I think you can see he doesn't care. He doesn't care who's out there running the routes. He doesn't care. He's just going to go through his progressions and take what's there and trust everybody's going to be in their right spots. And I think that there's so much power to that. I think it's you even see on early in the game he went to go throw a stop route to Keon, and boom, they played base defense with it. Found James Cook right there on a check down, and it looks like another check down. That's such elite football play. Just not going from one side of the field to then having to go to the other side and then scramble around. Like, boom, I just take it and I keep it moving. And those are things that they're not sexy, but it's really good play. And it frustrates the defense. And I think his just growth of just seeing how defenses are playing is just knowing my issues and my answers, and not necessarily saying he's full, but when it's not, oh, hey, boom, that first route didn't win, I know where to go with the ball. This clock in his head, football is slow for him. And look, we've played only 3 weeks right now, right? We're all trying to figure out what these 3 weeks have looked like. It's been a blur since the last 11 days. So it gives us an opportunity this weekend, going to next week, of let's try to figure out what we put on tape these last 3 weeks and try to do some self-scouting as we're going into this next one. But I love where Josh is right now.
Hasn't been a ton of volume for Elijah Moore, but how versatile and an asset is he given his skill set and things he's able to do for you?
Yeah, I think it's tough to get anybody a lot of volume. You know what I mean? I'd love for everybody to get so many touches, but the reality of it is, you might have going into a game and have a certain amount of plays for certain people, and you might call a play and it might go a different direction, but when he's out on the football field, I think they always have to be aware of him, regardless of he could be a backside on a run play. I think, like I said last week, it's important that, especially early in the season, you're doing some things that will pay dividends as the season goes. And look, he's done some really good things with the ball in his hands, and that's been good. It's not like we're just running a play just to run a play and say, hey, we checked the box. You guys got to respect a sweep. Like, we're doing it and getting to the good looks, and he's doing a good job with the ball in his hands. And obviously that was a great job on the shallow cross when they dropped out and covered two at the end of the game. Josh found him, and he got the big first down. So I always talk about the character of our guys. You might not get a lot of opportunities, but if you just do your job when the opportunity comes, good things are going to happen. And I'm really pleased with how he's playing.
James, usage snap-wise has been up the first 3 weeks here compared to where it was last year. How intentional was that versus just the fact that he seems to really be rolling right now?
Yeah, I think every game is going to be a little different. Some of it is, like we went through the first half, right, had 3 drives. And then you go into the second half, you get the one. It's like, I'd love to get Ray going in there, get Ty, get them all mixed in there. Sometimes if we're not getting a lot of reps, or if we're not getting a lot of plays, I don't want to just, hey, spot a drive just to spot a drive, right? And so every game is going to be a little different. We do obviously have some plays that are naturally tagged for Ray, tagged for Ty, but depending on how the game's going, at some point, it's like, hey, we're not getting enough. Let's make sure Jimbo's still in there. And like I said, he's running the ball really well. In some situations, it's hard to take him off the field, but obviously I got a lot of trust in Ray and Ty, even when those situations come.
You mentioned Ray there. I mean, he didn't get a touch last night. There's going to be a time this year where you need him. So how do you kind of keep him in? Because that's got to be tough for a second-year guy.
Yeah, no, well, it's kind of like the same thing with Elijah and Josh Palmer last night. Like, every game is going to be different, and I wish I could tell you every game every receiver is going to go for 100 yards and all the running backs are going to go for 100 yards. Dawson didn't have a target last night, and look, as an offensive coordinator, right? You want all your guys to be happy, feel like they were involved. But a big thing that we preach here is, like, we don't care who makes the play, and if you get caught up in worrying about all those other things, when your opportunity comes, you might not make it. And so that's why we stay on the guys, man. Even sometimes they're making the play without making the play, and we try to do a good job of trying to get everybody involved, or at least feel like they're involved. And sometimes, hey, some of those plays don't get called or whatnot. But yeah, I'm sure if you're Ray, you're like, man, I want the rock. So I'm sure he's frustrated from that standpoint, but he doesn't show it, doesn't voice it. You don't sense that. Again, I think it's just the type of people and the culture that we have that I don't think our guys care about anything besides winning. Don't get me wrong, everybody wants to be productive, but at the end of the day, the want to know is the mindset everybody kind of has.
Joe, can you speak to the growing confidence that James seems to be running with? There just seems to be more assertiveness, and it seems like every time he touches the ball, it's a chance to do what he did against the Jets, and he almost broke a couple yesterday.
Yeah, he's confident. He's confident in the system, in the scheme, the understanding of what he's doing, and how the guys up front are blocking. I think he does a really good job of the communication within drive. As you guys know, we'll repeat some plays, but then after, just seeing the adjustments that some defenses are making and how we're going to approach blocks differently or what our next get-tos are going to be. But he's extremely confident right now, and he should be. He's a damn good football player, when you feel it, I felt the same thing. There's a couple last night that even the box I almost thought was going to be a house call, right? And so, but he feels that too, right? So it's always a good thing when you come away with a victory, and there was a lot of good, but then your guys still feel that taste of, man, I left some stuff out there. And for a guy like Jimbo, the way he's playing, but to also come away feeling like, man, I was a couple runs from getting on the safety and those being huge games like it was against Miami last year. In the first one, it's a good feeling because your guys will be ready to go, next week.
The Jackson Hall's touchdown, there was kind of a lot going on there. He slips, he gets blocked, Josh almost runs it in himself. Just watching it unfold and knowing what the call is, what was going through your mind?
Well, I didn't like to have to waste a timeout right before that. I try to pride ourselves on offense of make sure we're having 3 timeouts going into a 2-minute drill. So we had to burn a timeout, not getting lined up right there, and then slow motion you see him slip, But I thought he did a great job staying with the play. It is Josh Allen can do some incredible things when he's on the perimeter, and it's like you can never take your eye off of him, but you also. The reality is a lot of those situations he's going to run for a touchdown, and for a rookie to know, hey, I got to stay with Josh in this situation, and Josh to be able to be Josh Allen, flick it in there and have a touchdown, but did a great job executing his assignment on the play of being able to get Jude on to feel like the run and then slip into the flat and then get Josh on the perimeter. And we know how good he is in the run game, but for him to have a couple catches early in the season right now and him to get a touchdown right there is, for his confidence, at least in the pass game, is really good.
So it's hard to keep momentum in a first half where you have just 3 drives. What is your communication to players, to coaches, to players with each other on the sideline to stay in it when you're not on the field much?
I think not much has to be said. I think the guys understand. Like at halftime, I sat them down. I said, guys, I love how we're playing right now, and I really meant that. We had 3 drives. I didn't like how we finished our 3rd drive. We had our second down, the run, and then the 3rd down sack, and then I got obviously all the faith in Matt, and we obviously missed the field goal there. But I sat them down, and I was like, I love how we're going. Like we don't, and then they came out of halftime with the big touchdown drive, to start the 3rd. So we were in a really good place. Obviously didn't like how we followed it up after that. But I think our guys just know, like, hey, I think the Baltimore game will always be something that no matter what, there's time on the clock, we're going to be all right. The only people that we feel like and always can stop us is ourselves, right? And some inflicted penalties or negative plays. And so our guys were in a good place and a good state of mind, and halftime getting an opportunity to go look them in the eyes and just know, like, hey, we're good. Let's get ready to rock for the second half.
Joe, how would you, just 3 games in, assess where your wide receiver room is, knowing that, obviously everybody eats, it's going to be some guys' day, maybe not for others. Just what do you feel like you're getting out of that unit and how they're kind of gelling together?
Yeah, I think, look, I'd be lying. Like right now, that's what I'm going to kind of utilize today is making sure I can go back. Like I said, the Baltimore game, it's boom, the game's over and you're right on to the Jets game. Jets, you're literally on the plane back watching Miami Dolphin tape. So, I mean, it's been, you're spending time obviously watching the tape, but really trying to get a feel of exactly like who we are through 3 games. Teams are naturally game planning off of your previous season. Well, now they got 3 games on us this year, and so getting a feel of that. I think the guys have great chemistry in the room. We're still, as we're sorting through of certain guys' roles week to week, and how that's going to continue to kind of roll through. But we have some opportunities that we've left out there. that we got to take advantage of. But I really like where our guys are in terms of assignments, execution, understanding that. Hey, I might not get a target until the second quarter, but I'm still going to do everything I got to do on those plays in case it finds me. So I like where we're at. We obviously have to play a lot better and continue to get better. And like I said, we've never focused on points. We care about winning football games, but there's also a standard by how we play. And there's so much good out there, but there's so much more room for us to get better, and we're going to have to get to where we ultimately want to be.
What do you attribute the success you've had on opening drives, be it the first quarter or the third quarter? 5 touchdowns?
That's a great question. I think it's just our guys not feeling like, hey, they have to do anything different, and just giving the guys what they know early, knowing that going into a game, we might not know exactly how the game's going to get played or how the defense is going to, try to go into the game defending us. And same thing at second half of understanding there's going to be adjustments. I try to stay out of very game plan specific. Obviously, the touchdown last night, maybe at the end of the drive, was a game plan specific play, but early in the game, just try to get everybody in a rhythm and get comfortable. And sometimes you look back and you're like, man, those are. Why do I get away from that sometimes? And get to some of the game plan plays where it's just like, hey, and that's kind of what the Baltimore game is. That's kind of what it kind of ended up getting to early. It's like, it might not seem like the perfect play call versus that perfect coverage, but if your guys know it, and all the issues with it, they find a way to make it work. And we give a lot of ownership to our guys in the openers. They meet on Friday and kind of let me know things that they like. And I'll find a way to kind of put those in the openers with that. And so, like I said, usually if they have the ownership and they think a play will work, they'll find a way to make it work.
Is it scripted, or do you go off script in the opening drive? Is it feel-wise?
Usually it's scripted. Again, last night, we had the 13 personnel run, and I kept the same play a couple times. But usually usually I do have it scripted and kind of roll. And usually sometimes that'll take you into the second drive or whatever. Rarely you're able to just completely go down the script, with off schedule and third downs. But that's where we were able to have success in the first half is we stayed on schedule. We stayed out of third downs. We were able to stay in all of our personnel packages as opposed to living in the second and long, third and long situations that we fell into in the end of the second half.
Joe, I know it's been a minute since you were with the Saints, but when you look at your coaching journey, what's the biggest thing you took from your time there?
Well, it was an incredible organization. That was my first taste of the NFL, and I thought that how every organization was in the NFL. Leaving there, and that wasn't the case. And I was a assistant to an assistant to an assistant, basically right there. But being able to see Coach Payton and that organization, kind of how they run. See Drew Brees, how he approaches the quarterback position, and take notes on all the details of it. Again, I had no bearing on any success that they had there, but it was huge for me. I felt like I was getting my doctorate there. I tell people all the time, like just sitting there and just seeing how it kind of works and how a winning organization, how they do things the right way, very similar to how we are here. And so that was something I'd definitely take there.
Another play you went to early in the game was the orbit motion with Shakir, but they were run plays, and then late in the game, the go-ahead touchdown, you go back to it, but this time you're throwing it to Shakir. That's his first touchdown of the year, but just what about that play and just how you're able to go to one, use the run and then go back to it in a pass, how you're able to kind of marry those two things with one kind of formation?
Yeah, I think as the game's being played, you're getting a feel of the type of, whether it's going to be the pressures or the man coverages, and we see all those plays very similar. They're just run plays that you're giving Josh the option, and in some of those situations, seeing how the game's being played, that it might be an opportunity to kind of spit it out there. And obviously after the rough and the punter, you knew they were going to have to either get aggressive or play some more man coverage, and so it was a great opportunity for us to get the ball on the perimeter. And then Shaves and Dalton did a great job of blocking on the perimeter that allowed Khalil to kind of spring it. But anytime we get our guys in speed and space, I think good things are going to happen.
You guys have played a lot of 13 and 22. From your perspective, why is the league kind of trending to some of those heavier passes?
I think I can't speak for the rest of the league, but I do think there's It wasn't necessarily last night. We ended up getting goal line to it, but I think it's unique in terms of the type of defenses that you might get with 13 on the field or a fullback on the field, different than sometimes when you're in 11 personnel and 12 personnel, it can be a little bit of a Rolodex, a little bit of everything, right? And usually when you get 13 and 22, they got to fit a lot of two-back runs or different type of gap fits, and what personnel groupings are they going to go with it. So it's not something that will be in every game, but it's something that we evaluate every week and that a defense is obviously going to have to prepare for. We have such a unique room with our tight ends and our fullbacks that it allows us to do a lot of different things from that. Awesome. Thank you, guys.
All right, hello everybody.
Hello.
I feel like this is awfully close. I feel like this is
It's a
awfully
little
It's
chaotic.
moved up,
Yeah.
it's changed some.
Yeah, we need to get that handled. All righty. What is it, morning, afternoon? Good afternoon? Good afternoon? Here we go.
Joe told us good afternoon, so I guess.
Okay, good afternoon. Got to do whatever Joe does.
Hey Bobby, so you come off a game against the Jets where they're 0 of 11 on third down. At one point yesterday, Miami was 8 of 10, so it was a pretty big swing.
Yeah.
Sean talked about you guys, kind of going over each one of those one by one today during the film. What stood out to you about some of those struggles?
Yeah, I think two things there. I could help them with calls, and we've got to be able to execute and make sure our rushing coverage is working together. It starts with me. I got to put us in the right position, and then we got to be able to execute. We know what the weaknesses are of every call that we're in, and if they attack one of the weaknesses, it's my job to put us in a different call. And so we'll certainly address that, get it corrected, and look to be better next time.
Sean said, refer to them as the 3rd and 7 plus, as 3rd and long situations, especially. Those can be kind of especially maddening for people watching the game because it's an advantageous situation for the defense when you can't get the stop there. I'm sure it's maddening for you as well. But
Yeah, I was about to say.
what do you philosophically, how do you approach those, and how do you deal with the frustration of not getting the stop when seemingly you're in the spot to do it?
Yeah, so, I got to try to make the call that works, for what they're doing, obviously. Certainly the offense we went against is talented. There's some execution things and some fundamental things within there, and then talking about the rush and coverage working together, whether it's, I'll go back to we pressured Tre'Davious off the edge. We have a free runner, and we have certain fundamentals when you're approaching mobile quarterbacks that we got to follow, and we've certainly got to do that. And then, and then he scrambles, he gets out, he throws it to Tyreek, and part of the coverage broke down, and we need to be better there. And There's the one on Tyreek on 3rd and 10. We have what we call a vice tackle happening, and he attacks the inside piece of that vice tackle. And, it comes down to some fundamental things, and certainly it always starts with me. I got to put us in the best position possible. That offense is a challenge because of who they have on the outside. But within the game, it's a matter of, okay, we get together, we're on the headset, we talk about it as a staff, what do we like, and sometimes you overthink it. And, we just need to get back to what we do best, and, looking forward to getting that bad taste out of our mouth on 3rd down. Certainly, you said it, you go from 0 for 11 to whatever they ended up, which wasn't good, I know the percentage. But, to get them into 16, 3rd and 4th downs, that's excellent. But we got to get off the field. And our guys know it's not good enough. We knew it the whole game, and certainly I'll do everything I can to put them in position to do that and do a better job there.
Bobby, we always hear about the rush and coverage working together. Without giving things away, can you take us to football school and how those two things really marry up?
That's right. So, it's a matter of the timing of that the offense is using in a particular situation. So let's start in a shorter 3rd down window and using 3rd down specifically. We know the ball's coming out quicker. So the way we rush and how we have to win versus the coverage we're in, we certainly know that'll be quicker in how we manufacture that. Now that depends on the opponent and all those type of things. But then once you get to that 3rd and longer, understanding protections, how we're beating protections, what our rush plan is, along with they're going to hold the ball a little bit longer. So we've got to get them potentially to hold it a tick longer. The same in the shorter window based off how we're manipulating coverage and those type of things. So then when you talk about pressures have got to hit because you're lesser in coverage clearly. So pressures have got to affect the pocket, and then we got to have the coverage that corresponds with that based off what they want to do in that window. So there's a lot more that goes into it, but we certainly got to make sure that we're syncing those two up in a better way.
However much Dion is still developing.
Yep.
How big of a learning experience and how valuable was that to play a role in that interception?
Yeah, I mean, I think I quote the Micah Hyde, confidence is a dangerous drug, right? So, I think the more he plays, the better off, and that's any of our rookies, the more they play, the better off they're going to be. There's a certain standard that we want for our rookies to play with, and that's the Buffalo Bills standard. It's not their own standard, and a lot of them have got to learn that. We're going to continue to harp on it, and, the standard doesn't change. It doesn't matter what year you are here. Like, we expect a certain level of performance and style of play, and that's what we're looking for.
Going back to last night, Dion told us after the game in that first defensive series, misassignment, one he wants to have back.
Yep.
Then obviously, go to that game where Bernard's interception, his role in that. For a rookie, what does that say about the mental fortitude side of that? To be able to wither basically 4 quarters, to still be in the game, to come away and make a play like that.
Yeah, I mean, Dion wants to be really good. And the most important thing is Dion doesn't want to let his teammates down, and that's been clear from the time he's gotten here. For a rookie, I'd say his detail is pretty solid as far as him wanting to do those things. But you talk about a consistency and a mindset and the way we walk into stadiums, but that's got to be from the beginning. Our whole goal is to waste no plays. Our whole goal is to waste no plays. And your mindset has to be that, and there's so much that goes into it. Situation, what they like in those situations, and all those type of things, and what the calls on you to do and to do your job. And that's got to be there from the beginning. And we can't have it to where something bad has to happen early for us to lock in. And certainly he affected the passer on that critical play, but everything matters, and we've got to do that from the beginning.
You talked a lot about how much Joey Bosa will be playing 87% of the snaps last night. Like, how do you?
Yeah, that's sometimes the way the game plays out a certain way. only having 8 D linemen up, and that's not a cop-out by any means, but we need to get that down, and we will get that down.
How is that like other guys? How do you get that down?
It's just the flow of the game. It's the flow of the game, and we just got to be really cognizant of that. So, yeah, we're going to do everything we need to get that down.
Being down guys, Zion Lowe plays in 41% of the snaps last night. What has he done to earn himself that type of playing time?
Yeah, Zion has grown tremendously since he got here last year. And it's been really cool to see, and he did some good things last night. But again, flow of the game, the way it goes, based on the way the drive is happening and how many plays a certain guys had on that drive. And, so we're certainly monitoring every play time, especially up front. And, we got to find that sweet spot sooner than later.
I feel like there was like a lot of unknown with Trey based on
Trey White, yeah.
With last season, and he well documented the struggles coming back from the injury.
Yeah.
I felt like there were a lot of high moments last night where he was producing at a high level, and obviously some that you probably would say he want back. When you evaluate a game like that, can you kind of just put your finger on where he's at and what he's giving you at that correspondence?
Yeah, I think you saw just the second game of this year. For him, I think that's what you saw. I know there's plays he'd want back. I know there were some, like you said, really high moments and some moments that he would want back, and we all want back. But, talk about it all the time, like build on your strengths and strengthen your weaknesses. And so that's what we look for him. The biggest thing we don't want is making the same mistake twice and allowing the same negative, for lack of a better word, to show up on multiple occasions. So all our guys know that, and that's what we look to do, is to identify those areas of improvement.
What did you make of Shaq Thompson's night?
It's fun to have Shaq out there. You guys see he brings juice, he brings energy, he brings physicality. Certainly a professional, one of the guys, great teammate. So it was good to have him out there.
Coincidence? I can't because of the air conditioning.
It's a loud air conditioner.
Coincidence that Terrell Bernard is in a game-turning play in a given fourth quarter, the second home. Is that a coincidence?
No, we just put ourselves in position, try to put ourselves in position to make plays. What's
that say about him, though, to be in that, like, he recovers the fumble against Baltimore?
Yeah, he did it. He's just doing his job, doing what we ask him to do. It's important that you have someone step up. That's what the game of football is about. The NBA, they call it a make or miss league, right? And this is a make or miss league. You're either making plays or you're not. And certainly in critical moments of the game, you kind of define yourself in your play. And he happens to be making them in those moments right now. And it's not going to be him all the time. We need other guys that are going to be able to do that in those critical moments of the game. And certainly great to see for him. He works his tail off, and, certainly that'll bring him some confidence. All right.
Thanks, Bobby.